Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I am starting another pick a card and I'm using the Naked Heart Tarot deck to shuffle and pull the significator cards for each of the three piles. We're going to be asking the spirit guides and higher selves of each pile's collective for guidance they need right now in their situation to move into their best outcome and highest timeline. For pile 1, we have the Heart of Wands, which is the Queen of Wands. And that came out in reverse. For pile 2, we have the Innocence of Swords, which is the Page of Swords. About a month ago, I used this deck for significator cards for a different pick a card, and this was also the significator for one of the piles at that time. And we have the Heart of Swords, the Queen of Swords. Oh, we have two queens and a page, and two of them are swords. What are the odds? I really love the kitty cats on the swords in this deck. And those feathers are just gorgeous. Queen of Wands, Page of Swords, and Queen of Swords. Heart of Wands, Heart of Swords, and Innocence of Swords. Take your time, pause and take some deep breaths or meditate if you need to. Tap into your heart and your gut to feel into which pile or piles will have messages for you from your spirit guides and higher self on what guidance would be most beneficial for you, would be most helpful in pointing you in the right direction to move you onto your highest timeline towards your best outcome at this time. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you at your pile. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is your reading if you chose pile 3 in this pick a card, the Queen of Swords or Heart of Swords pile. And I'm going to apologize for the lighting issue that I get in this room in the afternoon. And thank you for bearing with me. Since I don't have a better place to film that would not have other issues that were worse than the lighting issue. As the sun goes in and out of the clouds, the contrast may be better and worse from the shadows from the window panes. But we'll work with what we get. And I also want to thank anyone who's been bearing with me for the long amount of time that it has taken to get to pile 3 of this reading. There was a long gap between piles 1 and piles 2. And now there's also been a long gap between pile 2 and pile 3. But here we are. So today we are asking the spirit guides and higher selves of this collective, the Queen of Swords collective. Spirit guides, please tap me in to this pile, to this group, to their higher selves, and to their best timeline, and help me give any messages to pile 3, the Queen of Swords pile, that might help them with moving on to their best timeline and shifting gears towards their best outcome, moving in a positive direction towards their best outcome. I'm shuffling the Light Seers Tarot. The Queen of Swords, Heart of Swords card is from the Naked Heart Tarot. 5 of Pentacles. Also, please forgive me if I jostle the camera. Thank you in advance. 5 of Pentacles. What does pile 3 need to know, please, spirit guides? What does pile 3 need to know, please? 6 of Wands. I like this progression from the 5 to the 6 here. We're also progressing from lack and loneliness to recognition and achievement and fulfillment. Oh, I see. Okay. There's also a message here, though, about experiencing an achievement that is widely recognized, maybe even comes with a sense of popularity, but feeling a hollowness and loneliness underneath or within that, maybe even a sense of meaninglessness, like what was this all for, really? I worked so hard and I achieved this goal, and I thought that achieving it would come with X, Y, and Z feelings, but those feelings actually aren't here. Those deeper changes I was looking for actually aren't here. So where is the actual key to unlock the happiness that I feel barred from and walled off from? And that's where the Queen of Swords is coming in with keen insight. The Queen of Swords sees through illusions better than any other card in the deck. So any illusions or illusory beliefs that you might have had about what it took to gain happiness and fulfillment in life, shattering is actually being framed as a good thing by your spirit guides. It may feel really nasty in the moment, but it's necessary and important and beneficial to unveiling what it actually takes to have happiness and fulfillment, and to sustain them, to not merely have them be fleeting or illusory, to have them be grounded and rooted. And part of a really key part of the Fire and the Wands suit of the tarot is that they're not just wooden wands, they're magic wands. They can sustain the flame. They're not just kindling that goes up and is gone in a second. The Hermit. Yeah, this loneliness and hollowness theme is really big. But I have a suspicion, we're going to see if it's validated by the other cards that come out, but I have a suspicion with the Hermit coming out at this timing that loneliness is also being framed by your spirit guides as a gift at the moment of, instead of seeing this as a curse or as, why am I still alone after this? Recognize, what do I need? What can I gain from this alone time, from this solitude, from this loneliness, from this introspection? What is it that I'm missing about myself? What is it that I don't understand about myself? Why am I not curious about myself? If I'm not really all that interested in myself, or I find reflecting on myself boring, or I have some kind of resistance to it, what's that about? What's that coming from? Because that understanding yourself is what's really going to unlock the door to, oh, okay, I understand what nourishes me and makes me happy and keeps me happy long term, not just on this roller coaster of highs and lows. Of course, there's some roller coaster in life, that is life, but a really extreme roller coaster where there's no groundedness, no sense of love and purpose and fulfillment and meaning and happiness that underrides the whole thing for the most part. Of course, there's still going to be dark nights of the soul, even when you mostly have that thread. If I don't feel like I have that thread at all, why have I not gotten curious about that before? Can I get curious about that now? And maybe, journaling doesn't appeal to you, but maybe taking walks in nature and meditating and letting your thoughts reveal themselves to you does. Maybe having conversations with counselors or therapists or friends or loved ones does. And that processing your feelings and thoughts by talking them out is also incredibly valuable, and really goes along with the swords element of communication and voice and verbalizing things. Okay, the Sun and the World. Woo! 3 major arcana here, along with our court card and the Queen of Swords. And these are incredibly positive. Yeah. You're being beckoned to lean into the loneliness right now so that you can... help me with the words for this, Spirit. You're being beckoned to lean into the loneliness because something about that process, something that happens in that process, will unlock the world for you and your source of happiness, your inner source of happiness. You're being beckoned to stop chasing happiness and light and the source of your meaning externally, because that source of happiness, light, and meaning is within you. The source of your purpose and fulfillment is within you. You're still human. You have needs that have to come from other people, that have to come from the outside world. But things like purpose, meaning, and fulfillment come directly from the divine within you, the divine spark of your soul. And that divine spark is also all around you. So yes, you can tap into it externally. You can use the external to help you connect to the divine within you, to help you raise your vibration. And that duality is coming through with the Hermit and the World being almost in conjunction here. As within, so without. You are a fractal of the universe. And tapping really deeply into yourself will help you understand the world better, love other people in the world more, have more compassion for the world around you, and find more meaning and joy in the external. And noticing the sacred and the things that make you happy and the things that make you laugh, and the kindness and love and the meaning, the divine organization with all this sacred geometry, the divine timing and organization and orchestration in the world around you. Noticing that geometry in a flower, in a tree, in a forest. Noticing the inherent beauty in the way the sun rises and the way it sets. Noticing the inherent beauty in the way the human body is laid out, the way your cat's body is laid out, the way your plants grow, the way water flows. Noticing that will also, equal and opposite, tap you back into the sacred within yourself. Spending time in nature, spending time in water, spending time in sunlight will activate all these light codes within you, activate pieces of your DNA that have been laying dormant and maybe starved of connection with nature and with the divine, with sunlight, with ultraviolet light. Yeah, there is a literal aspect to the sun card here. I wasn't even realizing that I was talking about light codes. I had forgotten that the sun card was on the table when I was talking about that. I was just downloading that as a message that Spirit was giving me through the imagery on the world card. And then they were like, oh, by the way, remember the sun card is here? We also have this light just sparking, just kindling, emanating in the Hermit. It's like this seedling of light that you are being beckoned to and given the tools to nourish and grow until you are your own sun. And you don't need to change in order to love yourself. You don't need to change in order to accept yourself. You don't need to change in order to be worthy of love. You don't need to be fixed in order to be this sun, this spark of light, this seedling, or the full-grown tree. That is just what you are by nature. And accepting yourself in every way raises your vibration to the point that you actually start to become buoyant in that and resilient in that and aware of that, as opposed to maybe resisting it in a sense of shame or of being cut off. There's a real contrast here between this door that this person has the key to but doesn't realize, and they feel separated, locked out, maybe from their own life, maybe from their own divinity, maybe from connection to themselves or to others or both, or just a connection to the web of life, to a feeling of being loved, to receiving love and giving it. And then the Queen of Swords kind of slashing that veil, that barrier, that illusion. And then on the other side of that dark night of the soul, this embodiment of all that you truly are, an unlocking of divine joy. Like I said, sorry about bumping the camera, just the placement that it's in to minimize the issues with the light and shadow contrast is really precarious for it being susceptible to me knocking into it. So again, I thank you for bearing with my humanness here. Going with the flow is something I just heard in context of, I was looking at the garments that the characters in the world and the sun cards are wearing and the way they're flowing garments. Going with the flow. I was noticing the contrast between the feelings of being locked out of your own life and the feelings of being the sun of your own life and having the world open to you. And I was asking Spirit what the key to that transition is, and they pointed right at the Heart of Swords, the Queen of Swords, and told me what I already just said about slashing through illusions. Illusions about what happiness means and requires. Does it really require those material things, or is it really more about connection to yourself and to others? Is it really more about connection to appreciation of what you have in your divine life source, your divine life force, your prana, a sense of freedom and circulation in that prana, of empowerment to free up and circulate and liberate places where your life force feels stuck and locked away? Is that really more the source of the magic and the key to the happiness? And they're also drawing me back to the word heart. What feeds your heart is all you need to ask to find the key to your happiness. It's not about, they're playing me the song in my mind, Price Tag. It ain't about the money, money, money. We don't need your money, money, money. We just want to make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. It ain't about the cha-ching, cha-ching. Ain't about the ba-bling, ba-bling. Just want to make the world dance. Forget about the price tag. So it's like, what lights you up, makes you dance, frees you up to feel like you're really free to move in whatever way your heart and spirit moves you to in your life, in your body. What makes you feel at home in your body? What makes you feel fed emotionally? What taps you into like the juiciness, both emotionally and mentally and sensually in life? What can you source and resource within and without that gives you those feelings that you're looking for? And that's all you need for the answer. And that's where you're being called to go within, because you might not understand what those things are yet. And it's all about just trying different things to see what does generate that feeling, and then practice making those things a habit, and practice letting go and dropping the things that don't generate that feeling, and practice investigating when you do experience resistance to something, discomfort with something. Practice investigating that so that you can use it to help yourself understand you better, understand your heart and what you need and want better, and the keys to your happiness better. And also so you can really get good, develop a skill and a muscle for the discernment that it takes when you experience discomfort to know, is this discomfort that I benefit from working with and developing a relationship with, and, you know, trying out different things in relation to the thing I'm interacting with, the workplace, the task, the part of my life that I'm interacting with. Does it benefit me to play around with that and see how I can work with and maybe shift the discomfort and transmute it? Or does it benefit me to just drop it and let go and walk away because it's not that deep? I don't need to have painting as a hobby if it actually just frustrates me. I don't need to go to those parties with that friend. I can hang out with them a different way if I don't enjoy the parties. I can get a different job if I like my work but hate my workplace. Like, I have marketable skills, you know? It's not this... I tried to steady the camera there. I don't know if that worked. Sometimes we don't need to analyze it and figure it out and understand it. We just need to drop it. And the more you practice turning down the analytical part of your brain and turning up the compassion for yourself and the willingness to feel into all parts of yourself, the easier it's going to be to discern those feelings, to know the shape of them, to know the texture of them, and to understand your own responses to things without always needing to figure out every last detail analytically and conceptually. and mentally about them. And to discern which situations actually do either require or merit that type of analysis, and which situations, like I said, are better just dropping it. It's all comes from practice, experience. I'm sorry, but there's no substitute. There just isn't. Okay. The Tower. Okay, yeah. This is reassurance, in my opinion. This is reassurance that this... I'm shifting where I'm sitting in hopes that it will cause me to bump into the camera less. Thanks for bearing with me, all. This is serious reassurance that the storm that you're in the eye of is passing, that the dark night has a dawn at the end, that the cocoon you're in will result in your butterflying. You know, you're going to go from the hermit to the world and the sun. And the fact that there's so little in between those two states in this reading indicates that you've been building up to what will become a very rapid transformation. The Tower also indicates that, because the Tower, the bolt of lightning, represents this sudden crumbling of the illusory, of what's not working, and unveiling of where the solid foundations really should be. And it's a blessing, usually in disguise. So this is reassurance that if you aren't seeing the blessing yet, you will. Relax and let it come. Let go of the need to fix the tower, to patch up the cracks, to try to bail out the ship. Forget the ship. Drop it. Get on a life raft. Get yourself to shore. Save yourself and don't look back, as My Chemical Romance would say. Save yourself and don't look back. Find what's real and true in the situation that you can cling to. That's your life raft. Find your self-love and appreciation for what you do have in the situation. That's your life raft. And go with that, or run with that as far as you can. Get yourself to safety away from the crumbling tower instead of trying to save the crumbling tower. And use your new situation as this launch pad for understanding what really does work for you, for letting your heart guide you in self-discovery and watering the seeds of what really does make you happy. Because some of you, I'm being told, really do actually already know what makes you happy, but you've been really scared to water those seeds. I'm being shown a picture of a girl between the ages of 5 and 10 in her bedroom trying to nurture these seeds in secrecy, like these magic bean seeds. But she knows that if she nurtures them the way she needs to, the way they need to be, they will grow too big for her to hide anymore, and the people that she's hiding them from will cut them down. That's what I'm being shown. And that healing those memories that have left that imprint on you of needing to hide lest people cut you down for your gifts is part of this unlocking and nurturing the seedlings of light and being activated in your gifts and in your ability to expand and to receive love and to light up your life and your heart and experience lasting happiness and get off the rat race, get off the roller coaster. Again, not that there aren't natural ups and downs in life, but we all have experienced, I think, the difference between drama and trauma ups and downs that are like these loops and cycles, vicious cycles that people who are not good for you perpetuate, and that habits that are not good for you perpetuate, and that resisting yourself and your truth perpetuates, versus natural ups and downs that, yes, are still dramatic and traumatic, but that you are able to get off before the cycle loops more than a few times. I hope that makes sense. They are less sticky, they're less charged. They might have the potential to become sticky and charged if they continue to repeat. And there's nothing wrong with you if you don't understand it the first few times and it does repeat a few times. That's just, again, that's just life. That's just being human. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not actually supposed to be able to learn from a mistake after just one mistake every time. Most of the time, you need to make a mistake a few times, mess up a few different ways in order to learn what the way that works for you instead is, or ways that work for you instead is. There are many ways that may work. There are also many ways that might not. And you're probably going to have to find a few of those before you're able to avoid them effectively and mostly consistently. And even then, it may not be 100% consistently. It may be 99 or 98 or 90% consistently, and that's still awesome. That's still an A grade. 9 out of 10 times is still an A grade. Or an A minus. Still a really good GPA. You're human. You're not supposed to be perfect. And not every tower that we get attached to is perfect. Some of them are meant to crumble. Even if we thought that was the tower that was meant to last, sometimes we got that impression because we were led divinely to that tower, but there was always the possibility in the divine mind that that might just be a temporary tower. And so when it comes time to break camp, let the camp break down. Let the tower break down. I hope this is making sense. I really do. Ooh, okay, yeah, this is confirmation that there is that resistance or clinging energy, because the devil is all about like addiction and attachment, loss of free will, misunderstanding of free will, feeling like you need to rebel by doing stuff that's bad for you and self-destructive in order to exert your free will, instead of exerting your free will to actually do the things that are healthy and healthful and helpful and nourishing for you, and to break away from the things that are toxic. It's a really important discernment. Like, some of you, I'm being told by your spirit guides, really need to let go of that particular self-image of rebellion, being a renegade, and redefine that. You know, hope and kindness and love are punk rock too, you know? Is it really worth being edgy and cool if it's destroying you and leeching your soul? Like, you're having kind of a come to Jesus moment, some of you. And I'm sorry to laugh about it. I hope you can hear in my voice and my energy, feel in my energy, that it's not a laughter of not taking it seriously. It's a laughter of, ooh, I've been there. I recognize that. And I'm right here on the other side of the shore, like beckoning, you know, along with Jesus and whoever else you might be having a come to spirit guide moment, come to source moment, along with whoever else. I'm here beckoning to you, trying to be a lighthouse on the shore, help you cut through these illusions. Yeah, so this card is really confirming that there are misunderstandings and illusions and attachments to those misconceptions and illusions at play, and really, really confirming that it's actually going to be good for you to let them crumble down, and that spirit knows that it's not going to feel good at first, but that you really will be set free on the other side. And some of you believing that, trusting that, having faith in that is the key to taking that leap of faith. Some of you, you're not going to feel that belief. You're not going to feel that readiness. You aren't going to be able to feel that faith or that trust until you get to the other side and see that it was true. And that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with you for feeling distrust and worry and fear. And you just have to recognize, you just have to ask yourself and really honestly answer, is it actually hurting me worse to hold on to these chains that are cutting my hands than to let go and find out what happens on the other side? Because that's what happened to me too. There were things that I thought I would rather die than let go of. And I had to get to a point where it was hurting me so badly to hold on to them, you know, that relationship or that addiction, that it didn't matter how painful it was to let go of it. It could not possibly be worse than the hell of holding on to it and staying in it And so I was finally able to leave. So I'm right there with you if that's where you're at. I am holding your hand. I am guiding you through to the other side. I promise it's going to be okay. You have the strength for this. You are forging the resilience for this by doing it. You are resourceful and resilient and strong and capable. You do not need this thing or person that you have perhaps thought you needed for some time now. You do not need this illusion of external validation that is actually like completely intangible. You discovered once you got it. You know, you don't need that fame or that money or that status. You don't need that particular image or reputation. The Reputation album by Taylor Swift just flashed through my mind. So you might be having that kind of moment where people who used to applaud for you have stabbed you in the back and are spreading lies about you, and that really does not feel good, but it shows you what is real, because it wasn't those people, it wasn't those things, and it reveals to you what about the path you're on you love and don't love. You know, in that type of example of like a musician, you may not love being in the public eye, but you may love performing or music enough to continue on your path, even with the consequences of that. You know, you can apply that to many other areas of life or career fields. Besides that, what consequences are you willing to accept? And when you pan out to the future, a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, are you willing to accept a reality where those things you're holding on to haven't changed? Can you imagine how it would actually affect you if a year from now, 5 years from now, those things have not been let go of or haven't been changed? And is that is that an outcome you're willing to accept? Is that a path you're willing to walk down with your eyes open, with the blindfold off? If so, go forth and make that choice of your free will. If not, that's your sign that letting go of these chains that are cutting into your hands is better than allowing them to continue to bind you and hurt you. Okay. Ace of Swords. Yes. With the Ace of Swords and the Queen of Swords, you are so divinely guided in these illusions being revealed to you. Those who do not have your best interests being revealed to you. Ask Spirit for divine insight, for clarity. Meditate if you can. Spend time in nature, like I said, and spend time with yourself. Ask for clarity and ask for help kind of cutting through the lies and projections of the people or things that might be generating this toxic attachment. And ask for help from Spirit, replacing those structures in your life with more supportive ones, replacing those beliefs with more true, accurate, and supportive ones, replacing those thoughts and patterns with more true, accurate, and supportive ones, with more self-loving, compassionate ones, less karmic, vicious loop ones. Yeah. And on the back of the deck, we have the Ace of Wands with that, and the Ace of Swords. You definitely have a new beginning that is already kind of starting under your feet. It's like this fire is already simmering, waiting to kind of light a fire under your butt. These new insights and ideas are already waiting to be revealed to you. They're just waiting for that strike of lightning in the Ace of Swords in the Tower to land and activate, with all the sacred geometry and sunlight here, to activate your mind. And you're gonna see very naturally, without you having to try, what actually lasts from your 15 minutes of fame or from your achievement or popularity or success, you're going to see without having to try or put effort in or force it. You will see effortlessly. It will be unveiled to you what lasts from that and what doesn't, who is real and who is not. Let people show their hands to you. Let people show you who they are. Believe them. As Maya Angelou said, when people tell you who you are or show you who they are, believe them. Instead of, it's a very good quality to have compassion and see the best in people. It is a very dangerous thing to imagine or buy into the delusion that the best in people negates the worst in them. If they are harming you, the ways in which the positive things that they do not necessarily outweigh that, and they certainly don't erase it. Okay? And if people have already shown you they aren't going to change, it's time to stop denying that you have already seen that. Okay. Yeah, the Ace of Swords and the Queen of Swords also speak very, very much to me personally as a reader of angelic and archangel guidance and intervention. Please, if you have any relationship to spirit whatsoever, call on your angels, call on archangels, call on guardian angels. Especially Archangel Michael is here with his sword to help you slice through untrue thoughts and beliefs, unhelpful thoughts and beliefs, or detrimental ones. Slice through energetic cords that have been developed between you and people, where they might be draining your energy or keeping you tied to them by way of emotions and thoughts, okay? Please call on your specific spirit guides and angels, archangels, and source itself to help you unwind these chains, heal the wounds, unlock the door, liberate yourself, and set up new patterns and practice them until they become habits that are holding up your life and holding up your happiness, so that it is a real solid structure. Your happiness, the things that give you day-to-day mundane, magical, mysterious, ordinary joy, can be solid structures in your life that never leave you. It just takes some practice. It just takes some experimenting, and like I said, practicing the things that you find out work by way of those experiments until they become habits where it's easier for you to do them than to not do them. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I'm being called to the messages from the Mermaids deck. I think some of you have water spirit guides. There's an ocean deity who's with me very strongly right now. And he does work with me personally, but I also think it's an energy that's here for you. I immediately was drawn to the feelings card. Listen to your feelings and allow them. There is a lot of messaging about the creating flow where there's been stagnation, liberation where there's been locked away. Yeah, and I'm being called to place this in juxtaposition to the figure, the archetype of chains and bondage itself, Your feelings, your divine feminine, it's time to unchain them and to move the way spirit is moving you to, move the way your heart is moving you to. Allow your feelings to move through you, allow your feelings to move you to certain actions. Movement by Hosier is playing in my head. Kind of a dark song, but it might be something that inspires a certain amount of that movement and circulation in you if you're feeling a little bit stuck. Reminds you of sort of the natural, magical, mystical movements in the world and in nature and in your own being. If you feel kind of stuck in the forced, propelled movements that our society kind of pretends are the only type of movement that exists. Let's be real, we kind of pretend in our society that the only motivation comes from forcing yourself to do things, or having a carrot on a stick, or a punishment or a reward. And that's not the case. Your heart, your feelings move you, motivate you in directions all the time. The space to hear those messages when you're used to suppressing them is required to unsuppress them, because those messages from your being that come through your feelings and intuition, your being never stops sending them to you. You just get really used to tuning them out. So it takes, like when you're used to tuning out a certain sound, you have to create silence and quiet down the rest of the sounds in order to be able to hear that again. And as we were talking about with practice and habits, if you practice tuning into it enough, you can develop enough of a habit of attuning to those frequencies of your feelings, that it actually becomes easy to hear them over or under other noise. But that's not where anybody starts out in this world, unless they're one of the very, very, very few people who have been parented in a way that nurtures and encourages that from a young age. Almost no one has experienced that on this earth at this time. And hopefully more and more people will start to experience that. It is a burgeoning wave among some parents, and there are a few parents who are always doing things that way. But even with the burgeoning wave, it's still not common. So there's nothing wrong with you for there being an element of challenge. You're like, oh my God, why can't I just like understand my feelings right away? I don't get it. I just feel this weird pressure or sensation here, and I don't know what it means. It's okay. Give up trying to figure it out. Drop it. Sometimes you have to be like a dog at obedience school. The first thing you need to learn is how to drop things. You just need to especially be able to drop beating yourself up. Okay, that's never actually makes any situation better. So if nothing else, you just need to be able to drop that and come back into the reality of the present and attune to what actually is in the moment. Underneath any thoughts that are beating you up or are negative in any way, detrimental in any way, and maybe not even yours, because thought, the spiritual teacher Teal Swan is the one who made me realize this. Thought is a sense. It is the sixth sense. Everyone, whether they realize it or not, is not just thinking their own thoughts, they're perceiving the thoughts around them, both of people and of places and animals and plants and so on. And if that's too out there for you, or that doesn't make sense to you, you can just let that whoosh fly by. You don't need to take that. You can leave that if that's not a helpful thing for you to realize. But if you are dealing with detaching from thoughts, it might help you to realize that a lot of the thoughts that you feel a sense of bondage or enslavement to are not even yours. Like, there's no ownership or responsibility there. You don't need to do anything to them if you can learn to drop them and pick up something else instead, or simply relax the grip and not need to have anything in the metaphorical hands. And that's turning down the analyzer part of the mind and turning up the compassion and the willingness to simply sense, feel your senses at any given moment. You might view that as mindfulness practices. Those might work for you or benefit you. Okay. Decisions. Yeah, we were talking about free will and misunderstanding free will. And we've also talked here about actually choosing to drop things and walk away from situations where that situation metaphorically is a chain that's cutting into your hands, and you feel like letting go of it might kill you, but you eventually have to realize that it's already strangling you to death, and that your chances are actually better letting go of it than holding on to it. Your chances at living to see another day. Yeah. This whole moment for you is like discovering your free will. We have the solar plexus sun. Discovering your free will, your capacity to slice through illusions, your capacity to notice what thoughts, feelings, and decisions are and aren't yours, are and aren't your responsibility. and drop the things that aren't yours, and draw on divine inspiration to make decisions that are true to you and authentic to you. Draw on your feelings to inform your decisions. Let them move you in the direction that you are meant to be moved in, meant to move in, meant to choose to move in. And the Hermit is calling out to me again, reminding me to remind you of what I said about at first, and periodically, always, you will need to quiet the rest of the world, withdraw yourself from the rest of the world in order to be able to hear yourself. And if you're not used to that, you may need to do it a lot and really practice it before it'll become something you can do more periodically. And even then, there are going to be times in your life when you need to do it all the time, and then times in your life where you're okay with just, meditating once a day instead of 5 times a day, or once every 2 or 3 days instead of 5 times a day, whatever analogy works for you. Journaling 3 times a week instead of every day, whatever it is. Going to therapy twice a month instead of every week, whatever analogy works for you. There are always going to be times when you need more of the supportive habits that work for you than at other times. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not some sort of deformity. It's not some sort of defect, okay? It's normal. If more people aren't doing that, that just shows how in denial they are. It doesn't necessarily show how functional they are. And I need you to understand that, honestly. I really need you to understand how much disrespect most people have for their own needs, their own feelings, and their own heart, and their own gut, their own intuition, their own divinity. I really need to understand how intense and profound the disrespect that most people have for all of those things is. And that's not on you. What is on you is to choose, as you make choices throughout your day-to-day life, what would nourish you, what would feed your heart, what would feed your mind, what would cleanse your mind and your spirit and your emotional body, cleanse your soul, what would make you feel better, and to own your agency to make decisions in that direction whenever possible, to make decisions that help you respect the sacredness and feed the light and grow it into a tree within yourself and grow your roots within yourself as often as possible. And to own your agency and ability to tune out or shut down or cut off from or cut cords with, cut ties with any voices that would try to tell you that you can't or you shouldn't feed your own divine spark, or see that divine spark and see its worth and see it in everything around you, okay? People will tell you that's naive. There's nothing wrong with innocence. It's not stupid. If they could see themselves in the universe and reality objectively, they'd realize that it's actually infinitely closer to quote-unquote stupid to take that perspective than to take the perspective of revering and respecting and feeding innocence and light and life and making room for it to bloom instead of trying to hide those magic bean seeds under the bed. Okay? Reparenting your inner child is a big thing here, and I really want to give you so much props and kudos for embarking on that journey, because it is like this mountainous path here, that's not a one-time commitment. Reparenting yourself, it's a lifelong journey, and it's so worth it, and it's not always easy, but it's so, like, the payoff is so beyond words. It's so worth it. I can't begin to tell you. And it's a payoff that reaches into the generations past and future of your DNA, your family, and the human family as a whole. So that may motivate you as well at times when it feels hard to access motivation for your own sake and on your own behalf. Okay. I'm being drawn to the tea leaf oracle for what I think will be final messages. What else does pile 3 need to know, please, spirit guides? Tent, temporary situation. This is so very much what we were talking about with the tower. Like, this was always meant to be temporary, or at least always, there was always the possibility of it being temporary. Like, this thing that you had set your sights on as, like, yes, this for the rest of my life, permanent. You were drawn to it for a reason. You're not wrong for having been drawn to it. It's not less divinely guided just because it's turning out to not be permanent. It's turning out to be a tower. Either it was always meant to be temporary and to lead you into the next step, or there was a chance it might be permanent and there was a chance it might be temporary, depending on how certain factors played out. Potentially other people in the situation, potentially whether it really lit you up and made you happy the way you thought it would, potentially situational factors beyond the control of any individual in the situation. There was always the possibility that it might be temporary, and it's not a failure. It's not a failure that you're letting it go. And any aspect of it where you have experienced making a mistake or failing at something is not an evil. It's not a flaw or a ruination of you. It doesn't reflect badly on you. Everyone has to mess up to learn, and it's that simple. Everyone has to. No one is exempt from that. Not a single being in this universe is exempt from that, even non-physical beings, okay? We all have to mess up to learn. And you should be proud of what you're learning from these difficult situations. Mistakes you've made, mistakes other people have made, regrets, people you've trusted that you shouldn't have. Any of it. Things you couldn't have foreseen. You should be proud of what you're learning from that and the resilience you're developing from that, rather than tearing yourself down just because you have to tear down the tent. It's time to pack up camp, like I said, but that's not a reflection on you. It doesn't make you a failure or less worthy, or mean that you messed up by being drawn in this direction at all. You were drawn in this direction because it led you to things that you will take with you. Internal or external, most likely intangible qualities, things that you've learned, lessons, things that you've gained internally that will inform your decisions, will help guide the rest of your life choices. Even if there are so many other things in the situation that you maybe thought or hoped you would take with you, but that you aren't going to. Grieve as much as you need to, but do not denigrate yourself. Do not put yourself down. You're not losing yourself. You might be losing a version of yourself, like a snake shedding its skin, like the butterfly no longer being the caterpillar. It's possible that the you you're evolving into is actually more true and authentic and more expansive, gets to experience more things, gets to own more of your power, gets to achieve more things than the you that you're so scared about leaving behind. Completely normal to be sad about leaving that version of you and any other people or parts of the situation that you loved behind. Completely normal and good to make space to honor those feelings and the things that you are saying goodbye to. There's also no need to throw the baby out with the bathwater and throw out your self-worth with the trash, okay? Throw the toxicity out with the trash, including the people that are harming you or not being truthful, because some of you definitely have some people, or at least one person in your life, who has just not been truthful with you, and it's time to put them out with the trash. I'm not kidding. Time to let the tide take them away. Ask God to remove them from your life and do what Spirit moves you to do, rather than ignoring those calls when it comes to cutting those ties. But yeah, as the sun sets on this situation, the sun rises on new beginnings that are already growing in the ground under your feet, already growing in your mind, already growing. It's time to feed those and stop feeding the roots of the weeds. Time to weed the garden and fertilize the plants that you actually will be fed by. You have gong, an exciting event, and grapes, time to go out and have fun. Yeah, this definitely represents the cleansing, the way that's my singing bowl, the way the gong rings out and cleanses with its vibration, and the new vines being fruitful and also fun. Like, part of what nurtures your heart and your mind and your being is fun, things you actually enjoy. Actually, I'm feeling like this one is supposed to go over here. There we go. Like I said at the beginning, the juiciness of life. Recognize the ways in which your endeavors up to now have already been fruitful and honor that. But in the places where they are no longer being fruitful, or those vines are starting to strangle you, do not hesitate to cut them away and fertilize different vines. Pour your efforts and your investments into different vines instead, even if you don't know yet what type of fruit those vines are going to bear. Nourish yourself, even if you don't know yet what your gifts are. Nourishing yourself and letting yourself have fun and making space for you to be able to hear and delve into and explore your own feelings. And to nurture self-love and to nurture connection with yourself and the world around you. Making space for all that is going to be fruitful, even if you don't know yet how. You don't have to if that's the case. You are not supposed to be able to see the whole staircase ahead of time. That is all I have for you today. I'm being drawn to the Frequency Tarot to pull, I'm being told to pull a single card from the Frequency Tarot to close out the reading. Okay, spirit guides. Show me the money. Show me which card to pull for this pile. Pile 3, the Heart of Swords pile, the Queen of Swords pile. Remember that you are the Queen of Swords. You are the queen or king or sovereign or regent or commander-in-chief in your own life. You're not supposed to hand the keys or the captain's seat over to anyone else. And only you can judge and discern what is right and true for you. No matter how much anyone else tries to gaslight you or impose or project their own beliefs on you, even if they're beliefs about you. No matter how much anyone else is to provoke you or put you down. Only you get to be the gatekeeper. There's a song by Haley Kiyoko called Mercy/Gatekeeper that I think you would benefit from. It has a verse in it that says, I am the gatekeeper, and she's talking about let other people live in loudness and chaos. I am the gatekeeper of my own thoughts and feelings and beliefs. I can protect myself from their chaos and their loudness if that isn't serving me. Okay? Number 20, gratitude. It came out in reverse, so I'm going to read the reversed meaning in the guidebook, but I also want to show it to you upright, so you can screenshot it if you want to, or if you want to see like an HD digital version. The painter of these is that spiritual teacher named Teal Swan that I mentioned, like the color and the bird. So tealswan.com has like digital, images of all these frequency paintings, and you can search for them and, like screenshot them if you like them and want to, make the vibration of gratitude your screensaver. I was talking a lot about appreciation of the sacred in this reading and appreciating yourself. And appreciating what you already have. Especially, we started at the very beginning with that sense of like, oh, I achieved something that I wanted to for a really long time and put a lot of hard work into, but it feels hollow. So what is it that you aren't appreciating about yourself? What is it that you aren't appreciating about your life or what you already have? Where are there already opportunities? Grapes that you can pluck, days that you can seize, ways you can go out and have fun, opportunities for excitement in your life now, opportunities for sunlight and connection and meditation and satisfaction, opportunities to delve deep, to get quiet or get loud as needed in your life now. And gratitude is kind of the master key for the universe and manifestation. It's such a uniquely high vibration, one of the highest vibrations there is, that any little thing that you can be genuinely grateful for, it doesn't matter how little or large, it doesn't matter how significant or seemingly trivial, as long as it's genuine. Like, I really do love having this in my life. I really do appreciate this. Letting yourself bask in that for, 30 seconds or however long you can, like, raises your vibration so much in terms of helping you draw in more things to be grateful for. So never underestimate that. Maybe that is a form of journaling that you like. Who knows? Okay. If you have drawn this card in reverse, you are currently negatively focused. That is reflected by the Five of Pentacles. You are only noticing the things in your life and in others that cause you to feel pain. Again, that Five of Pentacles. A life like that is not worth living. It prevents you from vibrationally lining up with what you want. You want to feel better. The way to feel better is to start looking deliberately for things about your life or others that give you pleasure to notice, to look at, and to focus on. What causes you to feel pleasure when you are looking at it or thinking about it? Do a scavenger hunt through your life, past, present, and future, of things that you are grateful for. Yeah, when you're struggling with obsessive thoughts, that's a really useful tool to just keep in your back pocket at all times is, what can I send my brain on a scavenger hunt for right now? I could send it on a scavenger hunt to help me understand something I'm sort of puzzling over or not understanding about myself or how I feel. Or I could send it on a scavenger hunt for things to appreciate, positive things I like about the present moment or about myself today or about the situation I'm in. Even if I also really hate things about the situation I'm in, I'm not going to invalidate that. And if I need to, I'm going to take half an hour to rage about that and validate those feelings rather than using the gratitude scavenger hunt to bypass or suppress those negative feelings. I'm going to air those out, and when I feel that sense of release and completion and catharsis, I'm going to take a deep breath and take a step back and go, okay, part of me maybe doesn't believe that there's anything to appreciate about this situation, but let's look. For the heck of it, why not? If I don't find anything, I'm not any worse off than I was. So is there something I appreciate about this? Maybe I really like my crystal collection. Maybe I really like the trees in the park down the street from me. Maybe I really like the sunlight, or maybe I really like the clouds that make the sunlight more tolerable for me if I don't enjoy bright sunlight myself. Some of you have been deeming things that give you pleasure a waste of time. And that's been part of what has been locking you away from your own heart, your own feelings, your own purpose, and your own source. Things that give you pleasure are not a waste of time. Let them raise your vibration instead of saying, oh, I shouldn't be spending so much time on that hobby. Let them raise your vibration. Let yourself bask in those things that bring you pleasure, that make you laugh, that make you feel admiration for other people, that make you feel a sense of inspiration in the direction of, ooh, I'd like to do that too. That make you feel better about life in some way, like, oh, there are still good things in the world. Okay. I kind of forgot I needed to watch that video to remember that there are other people out there. I needed to go get that cup of coffee to remember that there are still people who have just kind, warm, positive, mundane interactions. I needed to make myself that hot cocoa to remind myself that simple childlike joys are still available and within reach. Childhood being gone doesn't mean childhood is gone. Childhood joys are still here, even though that age has passed. Childhood innocence is still available each and every day, each and every moment, even though things have tried to rob you of it or have hurt you. And your alone time or loneliness right now is an opportunity to discover those things that light you up, those things that bring you pleasure, those things that make you happy, those things that you want to keep in your life, regardless of how many other people or things come into your life as well, those things that nourish you. And any hollowness underneath current achievements teaches you what you like about the path that you're on and what you don't, what you appreciate and want more of, and what is actually just kind of, maybe you thought that thing was important, but it's actually kind of a distraction from what really is important. There's a quote that I never remember who said it, and I really want to memorize the exact quote, and I don't have it memorized, but it says something along the lines of, every day the world will try to grab your hand and drag you to other things, but it's your job to take your hand back from the world and place it over your heart and say, no, this is what's important. This is what's important. And this heart has been at the heart of this whole reading, and the clarity of the dissolution of delusions that brings has been at the heart of this whole reading. And there is so much more to be grateful for that will bubble up to the surface when you drop the attachment to those illusions or those beliefs about what is a prerequisite for happiness. Those beliefs about material things, those beliefs about not being able to let go of toxic people, those beliefs about money. Hiding behind those things are literally millions of gorgeous, beautiful, insanely amazing, unbelievable, magical things about the world as it is and life as it is. And those things, the world, life, yourself, other people, do not need to be perfect in order for the things that are amazing about them to be appreciated and to be worthy of appreciation and to be safe to appreciate. You appreciating the positive about yourself and about others and the world does not automatically mean letting your guard down around the things that really are harmful or dangerous. You know, there's so many double-edged swords in this world and in people. You can have your eyes open about the things that you'd like to change in your own behavior, but also open your eyes to the things that are wonderful about you instead of saying, no, I can only focus on the things I hate about myself until I fix them. That's not going to work, sweetheart. It's not going to work because it feels so bad. It's torture. It's abusive to yourself. And no one has ever been hated or bullied into loving themselves and being loving and kind to others, okay? My favorite quote ever is that Martin Luther King Jr. quote. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. That was the quote that struck me like a bolt of lightning when I was, I don't remember, 17, 18, 19, and in the pits of self-hatred, and it made me realize I can actually love my self-hatred because I recognize that it's coming from a place of like desperation to feel better, just like that gratitude card description talked about. And I can love that starving part of myself that is so desperate to feel better and doesn't know any better solutions and is trying so hard to protect me and to get me love by making me lovable, by beating me into shape, you know. I can actually see the innocence underneath those self-harming behaviors and thoughts. And that can actually unlock and unfurl the petals that have been curled up. And we can't, even if we see that in other people who are acting harmfully towards us, we can't always make those petals unfurl in them, okay? So some people, like I said, if they've shown you they aren't changing, you got to drop it. But with yourself, we don't have the option to close the door on ourselves, right? So with ourselves, we do have to take ownership of our ability to make those petals unfurl. Not make them as enforce them, but to give them the space, the safe space, to hold the safe container, to unlock those petals that have been furled tightly into a bud, like the Anaya Nin quote goes. I might be mispronouncing that name. I probably am. That quote about, and then the day came when it was more painful to remain tight in a bud than it was to blossom, because it is scary and risky to open to ourselves and to the world. But like I said about the chains cutting into your hands, and so you have a better chance at surviving by letting them go, even if it means you fall. There comes many times in life when it's time to take that risk of opening up, because the risk of suffocation, of regret, of never getting to live a life where you really feel alive, that comes with staying quote unquote safe, tied in a bud, is actually worse and scarier and feels more threatening than the risk of opening up. So thank you for being here today for this really profound and touching and moving reading. I really hope this has helped you. So genuinely hope that these messages reach the right people who need to hear them. If you are in need of a personal reading or a remote energy healing session, check out my website in the description box. There are video readings that I can record privately for you that are available for purchase, but if you need something like a space clearing or an energy healing where those available for purchase readings do not cover what you need, feel free to use my email link from the website to ask me if what you need is available and consult with me about that. I look forward to hearing from you. I'd love to hear from you in the comments about what did resonate with you. And I hope to see you again in future readings, and hopefully not as far in the future as the space between this reading and the last one. Thank you again for being here, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.